Welcome back to the Lisa Wexler Show. Hello, our number 914-693-5700. Well, I'm delighted to introduce you to Molly Smith, who is one of the two lead organizers on the March on Washington for gun control. And she, along with her very dear friend, have started this grassroots movement that seems to be taking hold, that we hope will gather thousands upon thousands of people to Washington, D.C. on January 26th. Molly Smith, welcome to the Lisa Wexler Show today. Hello.
Lisa, it's wonderful to meet you on the air. I've heard about your work as an announcer for a long time, so it's a real pleasure to be on your show.
Well, thank you very much. And it just so happens, because the fates are aligned, that weekend I had planned for months to be in D.C. because I'm one of the judges of the Gracie Awards this year, which are the awards for women in radio and television.
Oh, my gosh.
And we meet this is the weekend we meet every weekend. A bunch, about 100 of us in media around the country gather at the National Press Club, where we listen and sift among television and radio performances throughout the year, and we choose who are the best of the best. And I'm going to be in D.C. that whole weekend, and I'm coming over to that march. So you have to tell me, number one, where is it, Molly? Where are you going to be? On the Mall?
Yes, yes, it is partly going to be on the Mall. We will start at the Capitol building, at the Capitol Reflecting Pool on 3rd Street Northwest, across from the Museum of the American Indian. And then we will step off from the Capitol building, because of course our focus is on the Capitol, because this is a march on Washington for gun control changes. Mm-hmm. We will step off into the street on Constitution Avenue, and with a large banner, when we stand together, we stand a chance, with a number of politicians from Washington, D.C., our mayor, our congresswoman, and we understand that there are going to be families coming in from Newtown who will be marching with us at the beginning of the march. We will march down Constitution Avenue. It will be a silent march, because we see this as a spiritual march as well. We have 1,000 placards with the names of different victims of gun violence over the last 20 years in America. And those names will be held on high as we march down Constitution Avenue. And then we will end at the northeast corner of the Washington Monument, another historical monument, where we will have a rally. And we have speakers coming in from their political speakers, because I'm a theater artist. I'm the artistic director of Arena Stage in Washington, D.C.
It's a wonderful theater company. Wonderful
theater company.
Yes.
And even though the Arena is not affiliated with it, of course I come to this as a theater artist. I was asked the other day, why is this your issue, Molly? And I said to them, it's everybody's issue.
Of course it is.
It's everybody's issue. And what has happened on this, Lisa, which has been so extraordinary, because we really just started organizing 3 weeks ago on Facebook, is we have a steering committee of people from age 12 to 85 of Washington, D.C. citizens who were horrified by the tragedy in your home.
Yeah, in my hometown. It's exactly right.
In your hometown.
In my home area. I mean, literally spitting distance, maybe 10 miles from where I live. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And because of it, it was as if the scales fell off of our eyes.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's the tipping point. It is the moment for Americans to move and to march and to send out petitions and to focus on our Congress people. I mean, the president, the vice president, the president extraordinary, and now we have to just keep focusing and pressing for changes in gun control, to reinstate the assault weapons ban, to ban high-capacity ammunition magazines, require background checks. I mean, it's all common sense
It's
legislation.
just so common sense. It's so ridiculous for it to not be common sense. And I know the website is guncontrolmarch.com. So, Molly, you decided to do this. This has taken over your life for now. I know that you have a very dear friend who is also doing this with you, who has a Native American name, something very colorful, Blue Star, right? Suzanne Blue Star?
Suzanne Blue Star Boy.
Yeah,
she's a Native American activist.
Yes.
And she has worked for many years with children.
So
I don't have children. but I'm affected by what has happened in your community in the same way that people all over America have been affected. And I think that there's a huge drive and desire in people right now to take action.
So you must have been very heartened by President Obama's 23-point speech today.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We need heroes. We need people who will stand in the fire of their own ideals so that everybody else can be brave with them. I believe that you're right about Newtown. I actually said it on the Friday of Newtown on our show, because we did about 6 or 8 shows consecutively that the entire show was really about what was happening in Newtown. And I believed and I hoped that it would be the tipping point, because my heart stopped when I heard about the number of casualties that day. Initially, the information, all of it was wrong, Molly. I mean, every single bit of information was wrong, from the age of the kids to the perpetrator to who the mother was to who the son was to something going on in Jersey with the brother, with the girlfriend. I mean, every single bit of information came out wrong about that. But when I heard that it was 17 5-year-olds, which is what I had heard by Friday afternoon, which also turned out to be wrong, but not by much, I just remember my heart stopping and my breath catching and thinking, that can't be true, that can't be true, that has to be a nightmare, it can't be real. Exactly. That was exactly the way Suzanne and I felt. We were on a train coming from New York for a play reading, and we read about the news on my iPhone, and we were stunned and horrified, and it was absolutely the worst disaster, hearing about this kind of massacre on our innocent.
So is this a cause, gun control in general, is it something that you have already been familiar with, that prior to this incident was something you cared passionately about?
No. Of course I cared about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was something in my mind, but it was in this moment that I just knew we had to act. And it was Suzanne who turned to me and said, somebody needs to do a march in Washington. We just didn't know it was going to be us.
Yeah, so now tell me about the organizational, logistical stuff as this stuff gets way ahead of what you might thought could be possible. How is it that you managed to organize?
Well, partly we organized on Facebook, and partly we organized with friends and family and people from the theater community, people from Suzanne's professional life, and people just kept joining on.
And was it hard to get a permit?
We put it on Facebook,
okay.
And suddenly more and more people were joining on Facebook. And then we started to hear from people in New Jersey and from New York that wanted to bring in busloads, and from Chicago. I mean, it is a national ocean that is happening right now.
How many thousands of people do you think will be there?
I have no idea. I really don't.
Do you think that they will?
We know that on Facebook, and we have some Facebook geniuses that are working with us, and just on Facebook, there are, I think, 1,800 people who have signed up.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of those people actually represents 3 people.
I see.
Because you've got this kind of range. So already there's over 5,000.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's the smallest number it will be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the largest number will be.
Well, have you spoken to Mayor Bloomberg? Have you spoken to, or have they spoken to you yet? In other words,
yes, we've sent a couple of notes to Mayor Bloomberg, because, of course, we would love to have him come.
Sure.
Our mayor is coming in to speak. A number of our city council people are going to be there. We have a number of legislators that are coming in to speak as well. Kathleen Turner is coming in. We have performers who are coming in from Broadway to sing the Hallelujah chorus. We have a lot that is happening, and we're going to be announcing that in the news tomorrow.
And of course, you still have over a week to go, and these things have a way of cascading with their own impact, and they reach their own crescendo of momentum, which is what I hope happens here.
Oh, I absolutely think it will happen this way, Lisa. The interesting thing is we've had so many people calling saying, I'm not on Facebook, but we're going to bring in a busload. I'm not, so that's why I say, we don't know.
You don't know. And in terms of specifically and the agenda and all of this, what do you think that Let me back up a minute. I was very surprised to hear Lindsey Graham, who on a lot of different issues, comes at things not as a frankly strident conservative, but in his own way, he's moderate on a bunch of things. I was very surprised to hear him say adamantly that there was going to be bipartisan opposition to a lot of what President Obama proposed today. And I have to admit that I really was surprised by that. Are you surprised by that?
I'm actually not surprised by that. I think that this is the tipping point, and I think that there is, it's going to be a fight getting everything through.
Okay.
But I think that what I have seen, there's a fierceness with the people who are organizing this in Washington, D.C., these wonderful people. It's like all of us are just regular people making this happen, who have turned into citizen activists around this. And I think that bodes well, because this is the kind of wave that can just keep going.
Yeah, I just hope, I want to talk to you, Molly, about an idea that I had proposed that I'm in the process of writing an op-ed piece on. And it's a different way of thinking about this. I call it a financial solution to the gun crisis. Yes. I believe that no matter how many laws we put into effect, what in my mind I want to do is I want to have been able to prevent Nancy Lanza from giving Adam Lanza that gun. And an awful lot of these suggestions that we have, while they make common sense, would not have been able to prevent a law-abiding citizen like Nancy from having a few weapons, and if she had her son living with her, him getting access to it and going and shooting people. And yeah. I want to just propose something for you to think about, which is a different way of thinking about the problem. I believe that everybody who has a gun ought to be able to, should be forced to buy insurance for their weapon. And I think that if the private insurance lobby goes against the NRA, that actually the insurance lobby will have the clout to win. I believe that if Nancy Lanza, who was by all accounts a law-abiding citizen and a law-abiding woman, had to have insurance on her weapon, that in that application for insurance, there would have been reasonable questions asked about who else had access to the guns. Did anybody who have access to the guns have a mental health history? Mm-hmm. And I really believe that it's the kind of thing, again, a check against things, mm-hmm. where she would not have allowed her son to have access to these weapons because her insurance policy would have prevented it. And I know that it may sound like, it may not sound like it makes common sense, but I know as a mother of a son and a daughter, and I remember all the driving years, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm glad that my insurance company makes a lot of common sense, because the answer is no, John, you can't drive today, and no, Joanna, you're too young, and this and that, and you need driver's ed, and you need safety courses, and you need this and you need that. And the private insurance industry, I believe, could go a hugely long way in practice towards reducing the amount of firearms that people have, because it would get expensive over time, and the access to the wrong people.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I actually think it's a great idea. I think we're in a moment where wonderful ideas like yours can actually gain traction.
So I'd love you to spread it around, Molly.
I will. I think it's a really, really interesting idea. I like that the president and the vice president really want to have a comprehensive look at this, looking at every area that includes mental health. I think that that's extremely important as well, although our march is just focused in one area, because I think within a march, you want your message to be very, very
clear, very simple and very clear. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and I think we owe it to all these victims. We're going on 32,000 a year between accidents and maimings and slaughters and homicides and suicides.
Yep.
A year. By 2015, we're anticipated that our accidents and killings from guns will exceed those of cars.
Yep.
And one of the reasons we've been able to cut down on so many car accidents is because we did all these federally funded studies on car safety. And so I'm really glad that you're bringing this message to D.C. I admire your passion and your energy and your enthusiasm. I know what it takes to do this, and it just takes an endless resourcefulness and an endless well. And I really appreciate it, Molly Smith.
Thank you, Lisa. And I just want to add one thing.
Sure.
Our country has always been a country that has legislated. It has legislated about cars, as you mentioned. We have many, many fewer deaths, 90% fewer deaths since we have seat belts and child seats.
Yes.
We legislated around acts of surgery. We legislated in all kinds of areas. So why isn't there more legislation around guns?
Well, there will be. It's guncontrolmarch.com. It's a Facebook page to find Gun Control March. It's Molly Smith. You can find it easily. January 26th in Washington, D.C. When does the march start, Molly?
It starts at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Fantastic. Good. I can't wait to meet you myself.
I'm going to meet you. I can't wait to see you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate what you're doing.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much, Molly Smith.